I think it is crucial for us to know that Central Asia is not just the region where many different countries have interest. It's not just the region where countries like Russia, China, European Union, the US, any other country are present, but also Central Asia is an agent on its own. It is a set of countries that have their own interest in the world, that have their own strategies, their own vision about how those bigger countries can be present in their territories, and how they can cooperate and how they can find the ways to coexist with one another. And especially right now, when we live in a world that is becoming more and more filled with conflicts, world that is less globalistic but rather regionalistic, I think it's important to look at Central Asia as an example of how the region, even under these circumstances, can find solutions of countries that don't get along with each other, but they can coexist in Central Asia. For example, when we speak about the US and China, they don't really have good relationship bilaterally, right? But in Central Asia, both the US and China are present. And this is just one example of how this can be done, and how other regions across the world can look at Central Asia, maybe as an inspiration, maybe as a role model, and to take some of the strategies, some of the instruments that Central Asian countries are using, and duplicate them in their own foreign policies. There are still many parts of life in Central Asia that we inherited from Soviet Union. This will stick with us for the time being. It's not something that will disappear overnight. But today, Central Asia is definitely much different than it used to be in the 90s. Today, during our panel, we were talking about the trends that are happening in Central Asia, and I will point out three main changing trends. The first is the demographic change. We are living in times where the population of Central Asian countries are fairly young. It's younger than 30 years across the region, and the majority of people who live in Central Asia, they don't know Soviet Union. They haven't been there. They were born already in independent Central Asian countries, and they perceive their own countries as sovereign, independent, without being a part of something bigger. And the same is happening in the political dimension. In the politics, we also see younger generation coming to power, younger generation becoming more influential, and having their vision influencing how the policies are being shaped in Central Asia. The second biggest trend that we are observing in the region is the connectivity across 5 Central Asian countries. So again, when we go back to the 90s, we see that Central Asia was inherited from the Soviet Union not only some of the good parts of being living in an integrated world, but also some flaws and some problems. For example, territorial disputes and border conflicts that Central Asian countries had, they were also inherited from the Soviet past. And now, 3 decades after the collapse of the Soviet Union, we only now living in the times where all 5 Central Asian countries had agreed that they don't have disputes, that they don't have territorial issues, and now can coexist with each other. And the third trend, I will be very short, it's a global trend, the one that we see everywhere across the world, is technologies. Technologies are reshaping the way people talk to each other, the way they think about politics, the way they think about their own role in the political life of their country. And this is also something that is reshaping how people are perceiving their own government and their own being in their countries.